In the previous episode, we talked about Rolex and we asked a very simple question. Why is Rolex not afraid of a smartwatch? The answer is that Rolex does not merely sell a watch, it sells craftsmanship, it sells achievement, it sells identity. A smartwatch may perform a lot of other activities which a Rolex might not perform. But what it talks about is the identity on your wrist. So, with that, we understood that organizations tend to change, but you can also exist when you believe in your core values. Today, let's look at another example and take away 5 business lessons which each one of us should look at in building companies which last forever in today's world. Lego, as we all know, is a toy company. It started in 1932 in Denmark, and it became pretty big, and even today it's pretty big. Now, I wanted to go back to look at how Lego existed in today's world. What Lego's core principle was bringing out the creative imagination in children and even adults too. Even I play with Legos. But how did Lego reinvent itself without losing its identity? That's the question each one of us should ask and understand. When Lego started, they believed in a core principle of creating value by enhancing the imagination of its targeted user, which is children, and also elders use it. But they also looked at how we can make meaningful product out of this. Lego's breakthrough, it started with it started as wooden toy company, and then it became a plastic toy company. But the breakthrough was not then. It has created a system of play. One set did not have to remain from separate from the other set. A child could take pieces from a house, castle, spaceship, anything, and then rebuild it into something else. Lego was not telling children anything to do with building toys. It was telling them how to imagine. That became the legacy of Lego. Build, break, rebuild, imagine again, and rebuild. For decades, this model worked very well. But towards the end of the 20th century, there were many other parameters which came into play. Video games were becoming more common. Television offered endless entertainment. And over a period of time, we had the Game Boys, we had iPads or iPhones, and smartphones came with games and everything. All these things were distracting the child. And Lego started asking the same question, like most of us ask: is the core product becoming outdated? That is a very, very dangerous position to be for any founder. The moment you have that question, you start questioning all the decisions what you have taken till then. But because they understood what they were offering, they focused on continuing to do that. But there is one mistake which they made. They didn't ignore the market or what's happening around, but they also they panicked a little bit how to stay relevant in today's world. That is the most dangerous aspect which a founder can go through, or a company or a striving company can go through. I mean, today we are seeing all the major IT organizations are struggling because of the AI, how to stay relevant in today's world. That's what is their core focus. Either of the two, Lego moved into a direction where it was going away from its core value. It started expanding rapidly. More product categories came into picture, more specialized pieces came into picture, more action figures came into picture, more entertainments came into picture, and they started going into clothing, theme parks, digital business, everything they were adding on, and they were adding on pretty soon to be just to staying relevant in a distracted world. But it was losing its core identity of giving the child the freedom to imagine. We usually hear that companies fail because they don't reinvent. Now, Lego almost failed because it innovated but without sufficient discipline. The number of products increased, the parts increased, development became complicated, operations became expensive. The company entered categories where it did not even possess a clear competitive advantage. Some products tried to compete with a conventional plan, but it was becoming very hard. The lesson was uncomfortable. A company can become less relevant by launching too many innovations. This happens quite frequently in our today's world, and I do observe this, which happens. When the annual report of 2004 came, their revenues or their losses were almost Danish 1.93 billion. That's an alarming number. That's the time the CEO stepped down and a new CEO has taken over. He was merely 35 years old. What the new CEO did was not to, you know, look at what are the categories, how do we expand faster. He went back and looked at the core value proposition of what Lego has, which is giving the creative edge to the child to imagine the way they want to imagine building something. So they went, then he started focusing in that area and asked a question to the organization: what is the company fundamentally good at or great at? The brick. Now, the brick, when put together, the system what they've created to build and everything, these became the core value propositions and the happiness it gave the child. The freedom to build one thing, taking it apart and building something else. This became amazing. It placed greater emphasis on old classic lines like Lego City and Lego Technic, but it improved the product development process. It reduced operational complexity. It shortened development cycle. It focused more on customers, retailers, profitability, and supply chain efficiency. And Lego did not stop innovating. They started going and doing something much more bigger and started going into building things which never existed before. The Lego Star Wars. They started building action figures. They started looking at building characters into miniature characters, and the Lego Star Wars was such a huge hit, and it brought Lego back into the foundations of what it was corely selling: to build, to touch, to create, and to bring it down and build it up again. There are a lot of other products Lego went in, and it started focusing on those areas which help them grow bigger. Now, this is where Lego and Rolex stories come together. Rolex did not fear smartwatch because it was looking at maintaining its identity and craftsmanship and that value what a person gets when they wear it on the wrist. And Lego went back to its fundamental aspect of creating creating or giving the creative freedom to the children. This is where both stories change the companies forever. Today, either of them do not be irrelevant, and they're growing as bigger as they can, as they were never growing before. Now, coming back to the business principles which I talk about, what as founders and entrepreneurs we need to look at, there are 5 lessons we can take away. The first one is to understand the difference between your product and the identity. This is very important. You are the only one as a founder who can do that. Or if you are in a CEO position, you have all the rights to look at it. Look at it. What is your identity and what is your product? If you have the clear connection between both of them, you have solved 95% of the problem. Lego's product is the brick, Rolex's is the watch. But if you look at what their identities are, Lego creates imagination, Rolex gives you the sense of achievement. These are the core values of Rolex and Lego. Now, when customers look at our products, we should also ask, why are they coming to us? Why are they buying my products? What is the sense of accomplishment or satisfaction does the customer have when they pay to buy our product? These also add to the first value. The second lesson is you have to create boundaries for innovation. Innovation does not mean that you just keep on going in any direction you want. No, you have to have the boundaries, and the boundaries should be your core value proposition. If you operate in that box and continue to innovate, that gives you the strength to bring out better experience to your customer. More than products, it is experience, I call it. Everybody creates products, but you create the experience which cannot be replaceable by anyone at all. The third lesson, what we need to understand is we should not confuse expansion with reinvention. For example, going into different markets is expansion. Adding more people is expansion. Building new factories is expansion. Bringing in more products is expansion. But reinvention is different. Reinvention means you're finding a new way to deliver your existing customers' experience. That is reinvention. Never confuse reinvention with expansion. Focus on controlled innovation. Lesson 4 is simplification often becomes before growth. This is one of the core principles I operate on when I take on clients, when I work with products. How can I explain this to a 3 or 5-year-old kid? It can be as complicated as a space shuttle, and it can be as simple as a mobile phone. You should be able to explain it to a 5-year-old kid. Yeah, mobile phone, everybody understand. That was not a right example, but I'm sure you're understanding what I'm saying. Simplify the entire offering into the simplest terms. That is when you can grow better. So I mean, to give my personal story for Studio Navaka, when I started, I didn't know how to do. I was selling my services as a CTO or a CPO or anything. But it took about 2 years for me. I looked at what is the biggest core value proposition what I give. My core value proposition is simplification. So when I can simplify things to my client, they have more understanding of how they can better the experience of the client. That is what I focus on. So remember, anytime your growth, before your growth, simplification becomes the key. And if you can simplify it, growth is inevitable. Now, the last aspect or the lesson 5 which I take away from both these stories is use technologies to amplify the experience. Use AI to amplify the experience. Use any technology to amplify the experience. But don't think of, I should add AI. If you start thinking in this direction, the whole core value proposition goes away and you will not be able to enhance the experience. You will be adding the cost. End of the day, you will pass on the cost to your customer, and your customer might stay with you or might not stay with you. Very, very important. If the product feature does not, or your product does not require AI, don't use it. Reinvent within. Lego doesn't need AI. Yes, they use AI in their automation or a manufacturing process or time to bring it to market. Back end things they might use, but the customer, it's a brick. Similarly, Rolex, they might use anything behind the scenes to enhance their processes, but the experience is the watch on your wrist. So these are the 5 principles we as founders should take away to understand how valuable our product is and our company is. Both these stories are very distant, but give us the core underlying. One went back and looked at what is the experience I am giving to my customer. Imagination, Lego. One went back to the drawing board. Should I give more features or focus on my craftsmanship? They focused on the craftsmanship. Today, both companies are growing as bigger they never grew earlier. So, as founders, look at these things and help yourself and the product to create more meaningful experiences for your client. I hope these stories are resonating or giving you a sense of thought for your entrepreneurial journey. And if they do, please share your experiences in the comments, and please do like, share, and subscribe to this video. Thank you.